Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
How's it going, babe?
All right. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. We never talk anymore. I barely see you, so I wanted to check in and just see how this quarantine's treating you now.
Well, not great, but we're moving. How is it treating you?
I mean, it's going okay. I certainly do miss, quote unquote, normal life to a certain degree, but
Movies.
miss going to the movies, going out to eat. I'm still, working. You unfortunately are not, but I miss the kids going to school. Maybe that's the biggest thing I miss. Like my son, at least, is really struggling with homeschooling compared to, he was pretty good at staying on task in regular school.
Right. It was nice having somebody tell them what to do.
Right. And the structured feel of the classroom.
Now they don't feel any urgency at all.
Well, your son does. Your son feels the urgency to get his shit done so he can watch YouTube all day.
Right.
My son
watches YouTube all day instead.
He might be. It's hard to tell while he's without keeping a hawk eye on him all the time. But I still have to work. So that's why we want schools.
Well, yeah,
right?
But and every time I would ask him, "Are you doing your homework?" he would say yes.
Right. Yeah, he's always kind of working on stuff.
He just gets so distracted.
Yeah. Yeah, I miss schools.
Poor guy.
I miss schools so much.
Yeah.
Well, what else has been going on? We keep talking about Fallout. We've been playing a lot of Fallout. So if anyone out there on Xbox wants to play Fallout with us, let us know.
Yes, that would be fun.
It would be fun.
That would be a blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we have skunks in our yard.
Did we talk about that last week?
I don't know,
remember.
but they're still there.
How about a skunk date?
We have
the
Dog of Thrones has been skunked twice.
Oh, poor little Sophie.
Yeah, you would think she would have learned the first time, but no. And she still, even the second time, goes out there with the gusto of... She thinks she's a giant German shepherd or something.
She's the Dog of Thrones, and that means she's related to a wolf. So she's basically a Stark. So she is going to make bad decisions.
She's like Ghost.
Look at that. We squeezed some Game of Thrones content in there. The Starks famously make bad decisions.
Yeah.
No, Ghost was pretty smart. Because Jon Snow is not really a Stark. That's why he was, okay.
Well, he didn't make great decisions either. Nobody did. Although, I guess that's that's what made them human if they were human.
Some of their decisions were
poor
pretty
decisions.
dumb. Yeah, I guess that humanizes them. But that's our dog. She's human.
Yes, she is. So she goes out there and wants to get these skunks who, they are so cute, which is why I haven't
had them murdered,
right? They're babies and they're just so cute. But I don't want them in my yard. So now we're having all of the trees removed. So there's no place for them to hide. Little palms.
Yeah. Around the back of the yard.
And I think they like their roots. I think they were eating their roots.
I hope so.
Because or the bugs that live around their roots, because they sure did dig some holes.
I never knew skunks were diggers.
I didn't. Well, I kind of thought they might eat grubs and stuff, but
yeah,
these are big holes they're digging, and I think they've tunneled into our yard
from outside.
Outside
the yard. Yeah, there's a hill sort of.
They just are little shits. They're pushy. They think they've taken over our yard now, and every time
they kind of have.
They have, yeah.
I don't want to go out there.
Right.
I don't want to get skunked.
Little shits. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what's been going on.
If I got skunked, obviously I would run into the shower and wash myself immediately, but I'd probably still stink for a few days. Would I still get to come to bed at night?
Oh.
Or would it be couch city for Jeff?
Well, okay, so here's from our experience, and I don't know if this was because it was baby skunk stuff, but we smelled it just a little bit, and we're like, oh my gosh, somebody got skunked. And then the next thing we know, this wave of smell hits us like a slap in the face. It was so pungent it like burned your nose almost.
I think it did burn my nose. I think I've suffered damage. Like, I don't smell the skunks anymore, but you still do.
Yeah. Well, and so here's a tip. Anybody that don't use tomato juice, use baking soda, peroxide, and a few drops of soap, dish soap.
Yeah. Here's another tip, by the way. So if we ran out of hydrogen peroxide after the first skunking, so then I had to go get more for the second skunking, where would you go to get hydrogen peroxide?
Target.
Okay. Where would you look?
By the alcohol.
Okay.
In the Band-Aid aisle.
The first aid section.
Yeah.
Right? So I went to CVS, and that is where I eventually found the holes where hydrogen peroxide used to be.
Right.
But
was it by the alcohol and the Band-Aids?
By the Band-Aids, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing. Hydrogen peroxide is not a good first aid tool.
No, it's not. It doesn't
burns
work,
and it bubbles when you put it on an open wound and it stings.
But it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't kill the germs. No,
weird.
Not at all.
Just has this weird fizzing reaction with blood.
Right. It makes everybody think it's doing something. And so it's sold out as a first aid product during this fucking crisis. And I'm like in CVS going, fuck this shit. It doesn't work. And now I actually need it for a thing that I need it for.
Well, maybe they're using it for something else.
For their skunks?
I don't know. Hydrogen peroxide bombs.
This would be a good time. Like if I ever wanted to see what I would look like with stark white hair, this would be the time to do it.
Well, you would get orange hair if you used peroxide.
All right. Well, if I ever wanted to see what I would look like with orange hair, I could do like a Trump like cosplay.
Mm-hmm. That's what color my hair was when I tried to dye it to be...
you tried to be blonde once for Halloween, yeah.
For Halloween.
It was our Breaking Bad costumes. Yeah. You were, what's her face?
Bitch face, really, is what her name is.
Yeah. Well,
Holly, no.
No. Heisenberg's wife.
Right.
Yeah. Walt's wife. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
We'll figure it out.
Anyway, speaking of Walt's wife, she didn't really know Jesse, but Jesse was a guy in Breaking Bad, and now he is in Westworld.
Very nice tie-in.
Thank you. Took me a minute to get there. I was trying to remember Jesse Pinkman, and then I couldn't remember the actor's name until just now, Aaron Paul. But there we go.
Okay.
Aaron Paul's in Westworld. So let's talk about Westworld. That's what we're really here for.
Sorry.
Season 3, episode 7 out of 8. We're almost done already. It just started.
Yep.
This would be easier if we had lives, but I think maybe just the fact that we never leave our house or even our couch anymore, that's making these shows go by even faster because we run out of stuff to watch. Okay. Season 3, episode 7, Passed Pawn. And
Passed Pawn, right.
That's P-A-S-S-E-D.
Like I passed it to you.
I passed the pawn, or I passed a kidney stone. You know, that kind of thing.
Right. Handing it over.
Yeah. Now, is that Caleb? Was he the pawn?
Is it Maeve?
Maeve is, I mean, she's a pawn. She's being used by Serac, even though she doesn't seem to think so.
Charlotte's a pawn who now has other plans. Well, not Charlotte. Charloris.
We think.
She said so.
Did she say
She called her on the phone.
Did she say that she's Dolores?
She told the samurai guy.
All right, well, let's talk about that. That was the first scene. It was all we saw of Charlotte. And you said, like, oh, she looks okay now. But we didn't really see much of her. We just saw her face. Everything else was heavily shadowed. Right,
and it was an odd color. It was like kind of whitish blue.
She was barely lit.
Maybe she didn't get her color yet.
Yeah, maybe she's waiting for her milk injection. Well, you know who had a lot of milk in a barrels was Musashi. Who, okay, so he's known, he's playing the role of a guy named Sato.
Right.
Like a head of the Yakuza or something. Right. But it's Musashi that we know. I think when we saw him a couple weeks ago, I called him Miyamoto, and I apologize for that. I think his name is just Musashi. But it's obviously a reference to Miyamoto Musashi, the quote-unquote, like, father of samuraihood. Anyway.
Got it.
Yeah. So they're in Jakarta, Indonesia, and the little readout said, I took a note of it, the circle, the weird circle thing.
Yeah, they give us all that little tidbit of information there. It's
like Rehoboam's data processor or something. It says intervention in progress.
Yeah, right.
So that was interesting.
Yes.
What we didn't know at the end of the last episode, we knew Hector was lost, right? He got his pearl crushed.
Right.
But Maeve was promised a reunion with some friends, and we didn't know who those friends were besides obviously Hector.
Right.
So we find out now. All right. So Musashi is at a restaurant or whatever, and he's doing some stuff he does, shady things. And he gets a call from Charlotte. And they were on the same team, right? They're both Dolores deep down inside. But
right. They're both supposed to be on the team Dolores.
Yeah. But Charlotte's really mad because she thinks Dolores Prime has left them all to die.
She has.
Pretty much.
She made them to die, basically.
I guess. Because if Dolores was able to make a Brave New World for hosts, would she want a bunch of Dolori running around?
No, she wouldn't. Yeah. But even if she did, she's using them.
Yeah, but I don't know that she wants them to die.
Pawn.
She doesn't want them to die.
She seems to not care so much anymore about the little, you know.
Plus, you can always recover their pearls. Usually,
right.
Hopefully.
Right. Maybe that's what she's thinking.
Well, so Charlotte's mad. And she says she has a new plan to, quote unquote, streamline operations. And for that, she has leaked Musashi's location to an old friend. And we had some tension waiting to figure out who that was. And it was Clementine.
Right.
She's back. Good for her.
I know. She couldn't have, I mean, I'm glad they brought her back. She was a pretty integral part of the beginning season.
And she was really fucked up at the end of last season, not looking her best.
Yeah.
They put her through a lot.
And they didn't like bother putting any real blood or something into her, so she looked like a zombie. I don't know why. Why did she have to look so bad?
Well, they lobotomized her.
Right, but that doesn't...
Well, no, it doesn't drain your milk. But but she was completely just dead-eyed. I think they took her out of cold storage so that they could reactivate her.
Right,
so
but they
didn't shower, bathe her first, put her in that hose down room.
Are they peeing and pooping while they're standing there?
Do they pee and poop at all?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But they do eat if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Although I don't really see them eat.
It probably just like when no one else is looking, you know how like the face unfolds like in those original models?
Yes.
It probably does that for their butt, but then just like the chewed up food just falls out.
It's like one of those little baby dolls that you feed.
Just there's like a little whirring noise and these panels open up where their ass cheek should be and then food falls out. And then they go on. Mm-hmm.
It's better than pooping, I guess.
Boy, it's okay. So this is just the first scene of the show. All right. So Musashi accuses Clementine of being a traitor, working for Serac, which she might be, I guess, because she's with Maeve. She's part of Maeve's team, I think. Fuck, I don't even know for sure, but I think so. And then there's a big fight. It's a pretty good fight. Yeah. Clementine starts slashing throats. Human throats.
Right. I love she's just become this killing machine.
She's
like another pawn.
Yeah, she got to keep that part of her programming. But Musashi's going to get away, and then he gets run through by someone that I did not quite recognize at first, even though the facial tattoo should have been a dead giveaway. But you knew who it was.
Right. I can't remember her name, though. She's
yeah, I had to look that up. Hanario.
The lover of Mush.
Were they lovers?
They were, I think, romantic interests.
She was definitely the Samurai World version of Armistice. And I was really hoping we would see Armistice today. But we did not.
Right. But you think so?
Well, Armistice has the snake tattoo. And then,
true.
like, we meet, and Musashi was like the Hector.
Musashi, right.
Musashi was the Hector of...
Yeah, they were like Hector.
They even had some of the same storylines, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like really weak writing on Lee's part. I think he got some shit for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, she has the face tattoo of like a dragon. But she was the badass archer in Samurai World. Anyway, so it's her. She runs Musashi through, and she said something about like him being a poor impersonation of Sato, because Sato was a great man or something like that. But I wonder if also she was mad that he was a poor impersonation of Musashi, because it's really Dolores's brain inside Musashi's body.
I thought she meant Musashi.
I think she said Sato, but I'm pretty sure she said Sato. But either way, she's mad. She cuts him up. Pretty cool, actually. She had the katana inside him and then like rotates it around him sideways, almost like a can opener. She walks by him. That was cool. She winds up taking his head. So that happened.
Right.
That means his core's intact, and I assume she's taking him to Serac for analysis, perhaps?
I don't know. Or I don't know.
Whatever they're going to do.
Put it in a box to Dolores.
Oh, very seven moment. That was all we saw of anything relating to Charlotte, or really even Serac for the whole episode. Like that whole storyline, that was it. Just this big fight and another Dolores is down. And maybe two if you count Charlotte not working for Dolores anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
So now there's how many left?
I don't think there's any. There were 5 pearls. One of them was Bernard. And Dolores Prime was already there. So there was Char-Loris, Musashi Loris, and Kana Loris, the security guy.
Right.
So I think there's still one more Dolores variable out there if I'm counting my pearls properly. But I don't know that we know who that is.
Okay.
Maybe she just had a backup plan for herself.
I'm sure she does.
Could be. We know things happen next episode, but we don't know how we get there. Anyway, so that was it for that stuff. Now, I do want to touch very briefly, as we try to group this up by storyline, there were a bunch of flashbacks involving Caleb. And if you haven't seen the episode yet, why the fuck are you listening to this? Go watch it. Sorry we spoiled the first scene for you, but go watch all the shit with Caleb. We'll wait. Okay. So now that you're back from watching the show, the whole stuff of Caleb's entire history, of course, was bullshit. We kind of knew that a couple weeks ago, right? Like, there was the guy who was going like, you don't even know who you are, as he was dying on a beach.
Right.
Right. So we know Caleb's been altered.
Right.
And we didn't know to what degree.
And he's somebody significant. Yes.
So this episode, then, there are a bunch of times when we're flashing back through Caleb's experiences in the military. The Crimean, they're in Crimea fighting in the Russian Civil War, rounding up insurgents. And stuff happens, but none of that's real.
Right.
There's a whole story about them capturing the leader of the Russian insurgents, which flashes to stuff we saw a couple episodes ago, where I kept talking about this actor Enrico Colantoni, who I love. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know anything about that, except thanks to the subtitles or maybe the credits, we knew his character was named Whitman, which doesn't sound very Russian.
Right.
Now that we know that he was Russian insurgent leader. But through all of this episode, they were showing us Dr. Green.
Right.
Who, again, might have only been named in subtitles, but that's why we keep them on. And she kept like pushing him to remember these things. Mm-hmm. And they would show him a couple times with the glasses on. The same glasses that William was wearing last episode.
Right.
So
augmented reality glasses.
Right. So it's all bullshit. That's where I'm going with all this. Yeah. So I feel like because of that, we don't need to spend a lot of time on the bullshit story. So let's skip over all those scenes. And we will come back to the real story. But first, I do want to talk briefly about William and Stubbs and Bernard.
Okay.
Because they had some funny moments.
Yes.
What a pair. What a trio those guys are. Huh? All right. So first of all, we found out William did not know that Ashley Stubbs was a robot. That got revealed early in their first scene. And he was like, what the fuck? He was right. Cursing out Ford. It's all infiltrated or something like that. We haven't seen Ford this season. I was hoping he'd make some kind of appearance in Bernard's head or something. All right. Anyway. All right. So Bernard's looking at this big data dump that got sent. So we know last episode it went by very fast, but we know Charlotte took data from Delos, sent it somewhere, and involved in that was tracking mechanisms, a tracker that she put in William's blood. We knew all that stuff. Right. So it turns out that this was for Bernard to find, I guess. So Bernard's looking at the data dump. He talks about how there was a virus put into William's blood, but it was a computer virus. And that's how this all worked. Once the virus, once his blood was being analyzed, the computer virus kicked in and opened up this hole in the firewall at this medical place to where Charlotte could send the files. Cool plan.
Yes.
I like it.
I'm glad that you're here to explain all of that because I don't think I got most of that.
Yeah, well, I didn't find it very clear last episode for sure. This episode made it better. So it goes back 2 episodes to the pinprick that Charlotte put on William's neck that injected the virus. But it wasn't a human-killing virus. It was a piece of code somehow that got into his blood. So when they analyzed his blood, the analyzer, that's a word, the analyzer ran that code and lost its shit. And then Charlotte was able to pinpoint that location and transmit to it. I mean, that's a bad virus. If that was even possibly real, data security experts would be freaking out. But not real. So that's good. That'd be a great way to break into a medical company and steal everyone's records. People get their blood analyzed every day.
Don't say that.
All right. Anyway, one little tidbit we do learn at the end of that scene is that William is legally deceased.
Right.
But we don't know when he was legally deceased. That was the question I was asking a few times during the episode and after. Was he declared dead years ago?
Right.
Or very, very recently when he got kidnapped?
Has he been declared dead and been in the park all that time?
Could be, right. Or is he dead? Is he in a cryo chamber somewhere or actually dead? And what we're looking at is William the robot. I still think there's a big chance of that.
Would Ashley know? Would Bernard know? They would know.
I don't know that you would know just by looking at him.
I would think they would be able to like somehow see it on their little pad thing, their iPad.
Maybe, but maybe only if you're actually looking for it. I don't know. And William could be a special robot that doesn't respond to like seesaw functions. You know, that kind of stuff.
I guess.
I don't know. Maybe he's human. I still really don't feel like we know for sure.
We should go out into the public and just yell seesaw functions and see who freezes.
I like that. Okay. What else we got? William. Okay. So we know that William was being reconditioned. They talk about that in the next scene over.
Right.
And we know that if you were reconditioned by whoever, like they haven't said that part out loud in these particular scenes, but if you were put in for reconditioning and it didn't work, you were disappeared one way or another.
Right.
You either just vanished or you were declared dead or something like that. So again, we know William was a fucking psycho as a kid, excuse me, as a kid, but he's definitely older than Serac. So it's not like the Serac stuff of trying to edit people was going on when William was a kid. But it could have still happened when William was young William, right? Like young William comes back from his first experience at the park and he had turned into a complete psycho there. He really let his beast out. So maybe he was reconditioned before that and that turned him into an executive that could succeed and then they got unleashed at the park.
Maybe, maybe. Something. Okay, I don't know, but
maybe. I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah, maybe he was one of the first to be reconditioned, and maybe Aaron Paul was there too with him.
Like a really young Aaron Paul.
Well, no, at the same time, like.
Oh, so like 45, 55-year-old William, and then like 20-year-old Aaron Paul.
Right.
Caleb.
Caleb.
Could be. We did learn that Caleb was one of the first that got reconditioned. So
right. Well, I was thinking maybe they were in the first group together. They were comrades. Or, I don't know, victims.
They discuss how Serac's machine couldn't save humans from themselves, so he reprogrammed people just like what people are doing to hosts. So Stubbs took some offense at that. Like, see, it's wrong what people do. And then they find Caleb's file. Apparently, it is of some importance in all the data dump that got dumped.
Right.
They wind up exiting the facility. We hear like gunfire and a scuffle going on outside, and I was kind of expecting Dolores and Caleb to burst through the doors at some point, but they didn't. It was a different place. They come out of the doors of the Inner Journeys Recovery Center. I wrote that down just in case it matters someday. And William says he knows his purpose now. His original sin, of all the sins he's ever committed, was helping build the hosts. And he is now pledging himself to wipe them out. How do you feel about that?
Is this crazy, William, or is this clarity?
Well, he seems to think he's not crazy.
I know. Is it? I mean, there are some people walking around thinking they're Jesus Christ, too.
Sure, of course. Many.
Yeah. So is it crazy, William, or is it not crazy, William?
Well, right now we have a host. Okay, so we had a lot of hosts massacre a lot of people. Now we have a host that got out of the park and is up to something that Bernard, at least, is telling people could end all of humanity. So William thinks he's the hero.
Right, of course.
He's the hero of the story now. He's the good guy.
Right? Where you're white. Where do your... Yeah.
He's wearing white.
I guess it depends on which side you're on.
Yeah.
He's wearing white. Oh, yeah, that is significant.
I think it's very philosophically justifiable that what he's doing could be considered okay. But on the other hand, is Dolores really alive? If she's really sentient, and she kind of seems like she is, then genociding her and other hosts would be wrong. There got to be a way to work out a peace deal.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe she's just like Janet.
From The Good Place?
Yeah. And then in the end, she's going to beg you not to kill her, even though it doesn't really matter.
That's such a good show, you guys. If you haven't watched The Good Place, get on Netflix.
She turns into a marble, too.
Oh, my God. You're right. Holy shit. Janet is just like a host.
Yep.
Well, Janet's probably the ultimate evolution of the host concept.
Yes.
Yeah. She's way smarter than Dolores.
And only helpful.
Yeah. All right. And then he says to them, kill me now, or I'll kill you later. That's their final warning. And of course, they don't kill him.
No.
Ashley and Bernard.
That's what do you think we should?
They think he might be useful to them. We might need him later. All right, so let's talk about Caleb and Dolores, the big plot line of the episode, which winds up, of course, intersecting with Maeve. They go to Sonora, Mexico. And it's very interesting how these plot lines come together. For the series-wide plot lines come together because they're in Sonora, Mexico, which is the location of this facility where brainwashing happened. But also, Dolores explains, this is the area of the world that Westworld was based on. Like, where they planned out the geography. Kind of weird. Everyone loves Sonora, Mexico, I guess. All right. So Caleb and Dolores and her long package are on some horses. We didn't know what those were. It seemed like it would be obviously a gun, but I just thought it was too obvious when they gave it to her, whatever that was, 2 episodes ago. All right. So Caleb wants to know what kind of revolution we're starting. And Dolores says she just wants a place for her kind. She wants to build them a homeland of sorts. Serac has her kind on the brink of extinction, and she starts suggesting the idea that Caleb is the sort of guy that could lead his people to be better. And he doesn't seem to think so.
Yeah, he's pretty fucked up.
He is a little fucked up. You're right.
I mean, jeez.
But the reason they're in Sonora, Mexico is that Dolores is going to help him recover something that was taken from him.
Fix him, right?
Right. Well, she didn't. She never said fix.
No, she didn't.
But that is implied, I suppose, given that he's really fucked up.
What's the point?
Well, we don't know what was taken. Or Caleb doesn't know. It could have been a puppy he had as a child, for all he knows. It's not.
No.
All right. So, sure enough, the long package was a very fancy sniper rifle. Fancier than any we've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's got a targeting scope on it.
Cool.
It comes with its own little drone. It's so cute. That little drone was so cute. So she's scouting the facility with a special drone that maps everything out, finds all the people, and then she just has to push a button and it shoots all of them.
Right. How do the bullets go around the corners?
I think the bullets were so strong that they could just punch through the building walls.
Okay.
Just blast away. I don't think they could curve the bullet. I don't even think Dolores could curve a bullet. But I think I think it's like a 50 caliber sniper rifle, just a huge, massive bullet with a very strong firing mechanism.
Ouch.
If anyone knows guns, and I don't, except like fucking playing Fallout.
What kind of bullets every gun uses there?
If anyone has input on that, yeah, I mean, the strongest sniper rifle you could get in Fallout 4 and 76 was if you modded a sniper rifle to take a 50 caliber, bullet instead of a, 308. Yeah, that's all I know. that's all I know. Anyway, so she clears the place in seconds flat once she pushes the button. And it is definitely Serac's facility that we saw in his, history, his background story. You can tell by the glass doors and everything. Like, it's all those little chambers where they were holding a lot of different people. But now it seems empty.
Seems empty.
And Caleb starts having more flashbacks to Dr. Green. He's starting to freak out. Dolores says they're here to look for Solomon. And it took me a second, but I'm like, I know we heard that name, but it was the prototype, one of the prototypes for Rehoboam. What's
the brother's name?
I believe it's Jean-Michel or Jean-Mi for short. Yeah, it wasn't Solomon.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Because they were French, So she starts explaining that, this was the pre-Rehoboam supercomputer, but it developed anomalies. And she blamed that on having been programmed by Jean-Michel, who had schizophrenia. So yeah, they kind of implied all that before. So Dog of Thrones, we're talking about a revolution. Shh. She's going to use Solomon to help strategize her revolution. And as they're walking up to the big brain, and I wrote it here on my notes, you can see it, Chekhov's gun, ? There it is again. They walk by this big box with a big red button on it. And he goes, what's that? What's with the military grade EMP? And she goes, well, that's just in case Solomon tries to leave the facility.
Right.
Get out on the internet, I suppose. Pull a...
Yeah.
What was that guy from Avengers that was all through the internet?
Jeeves.
No.
I'm just kidding.
But related.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember his name now. Anyway... Ultron, Age of Ultron. Yeah, Ultron was everywhere. So if they were afraid Solomon might do that, but they just didn't have the heart to disassemble Solomon, like a Johnny Five kind of thing, then that's what the EMP's for, just in case they need it. But that's a major Chekhov's gun right there. Like, they're gonna use that button. We could all see it coming, right, guys? Okay. They start talking to Solomon. They have these cool little, iPad earbud things, right? What are those things? Whatever they're called. AirPods, little AirPods.
Yeah.
Solomon immediately recognizes Caleb, even has a project number for him, and recognizes Dolores as being not human. She's like, I'm like you. And he's like, no, you're not. You're a Delos product, and Delos products are shit. I think that's what he said, right?
It sounded like it. Yeah, that was the tone.
He was dissing her. They try to win him over. He should help Dolores because he knows that this plan that he helped the brothers put together just doesn't work. And Solomon says reconditioning therapy helps. Caleb was one of his first patients, their first patients.
So who are they going to recondition? Who does Solomon think he can recondition?
A fuck ton of people, apparently. Except there's only a 1 in 10 success rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
I started writing 90%, but then they cut to a different scene. So it was just a ... there. What happens to that 90%? We didn't know until a couple scenes later. But let's talk about it. All right. So they enter the next chamber with their AirPods still in, of course. They can still keep talking to Solomon. And they stumble into... Serac pops up out of nowhere. Hologram Serac. And we're like, oh, God, he knows they're there. But he doesn't.
Right. Yeah. It's like Superman's parents video. Yeah.
I like that very much. Yes. It's exactly like Superman 2 in the Fortress of Solitude.
Right.
Yeah. They're talking. The Serac is talking to them as if
they were his brother.
Yeah. Jean-Mi.
So he's like, yeah, so if you're seeing this, you must be rehabilitated and I am no longer me or something like that.
Yeah, he goes off a little bit of I hope you understand why it had to be this way. Don't come looking for me. I don't think I wrote that down, but yeah, don't come looking for me. I'm not the man I used to be. Now, I took that as like, obviously he's turned into a bit of a shitheel, but you went somewhere completely different with that I think is brilliant. Go ahead.
Well, I thought that perhaps he is integrated now somehow, his self, with Robo-human.
Robo-human. Maybe that's what it stands for.
Robo-human.
Maybe that's what it is. Serac is a robo-human now.
Right.
So you think Serac basically doesn't actually exist anymore?
Right. Only within him. Mm-hmm. Only within the computer.
I don't think that we have ever seen anyone touch him.
Right. On everything that we've seen could have been of it, like a whatever you call it.
We have seen plenty of scenes, including like we saw him land at Delos, get off the helicopter or whatever it was, walk into the building, have meetings, do a bunch of shit. And when they finally try to have contact with him, it turns out he was never there.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, we've seen him on the plane where he threw a little
hissy fit
and knocked a tray and things went flying.
Maybe. That could just be in my head.
No, because I remembered it too.
Okay. So I think we've never seen another person touch him. We've seen him sit in a chair and get up from that chair, which is a really weird idea to think that like he had a chair on his green screen. Yeah. He has to sit on the stool in the same place where he's
now and sit.
Or he has really strong thighs.
Put his chin on his knee.
But this is why your theory actually makes a lot of sense, because instead of him being in this VR room where he has access to tables and stools and countertops and shit for him to lean against to make his hologram look real when it's projected, maybe he's just not there. And everything he does is a projection from a computer that can put him in whatever position he wants because he's not real.
I don't know if I've seen him like interact with items aside from that hitting the tray, but who knows? We're not going to go back and watch.
No, we don't have time for that.
But it could be. Somehow he figured out how to put himself, and that's how he fixed the anomaly and whatever. I think
this is a brilliant theory, and I hope you're right, because it would be a fantastic twist that I think a lot of dopes like me wouldn't see coming. I'd just be like, yeah, he said he wasn't the same guy he used to be. But that could be a major foreshadow to the fact that he's just not even there at all.
Yep.
He died. Maybe he got cancer or something.
That's where my brain first went.
And he merged with the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have just happened a few years ago, because the projection that we just saw looked like present day Serac. It didn't look like young Serac or medium Serac.
Yeah,
it looked like old Serac.
Though?
So, no, it's a fascinating theory. I kind of super duper love it. All right, so they walk past the recording. They look for Bro, Jami. He is in a place of prominence in this chamber where he's frozen, but he's in a spectacular spot overlooking what turns out to be a sea of cryo chambers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All the derelicts.
And you were really on as we were watching this episode, because you called it before they even got to the recording of Serac. It was like, what happens to the other 90% of people? And they start walking away, and you're like, they must be in cold storage. Mm-hmm. Just like the hosts. And fucking, you were right. They're in cold storage, except they're really frozen.
Yeah, well, they're a little better off, I think. They're laying down. They probably have some tubes for the poop and the pee.
Well, they're frozen. They probably don't eat or generate poop.
True that, yeah.
Matrix, you needed those tubes because they were still conscious and producing electricity or whatever. All right. So what we know is that these are people that were quote unquote outliers, and they were removed from the population.
Right. Mm-hmm. They were unpredictable.
Unpredictable, right. I mean, an outlier can be a great thing or can be a terrible thing, but an outlier can be a savant, someone who, you're like, I don't know, fucking Stevie Wonder and his music and piano playing and all that. Like, he's an outlier who went blind and was like, oh, I can do anything with music. Mm-hmm. Even play a piano that I can't see.
Could be people smart enough to figure out that this is all bullshit. Computer running the lives.
But it can also be a schizophrenic who you cannot control, although there's medications and things. So it's kind of dark that way. But
yeah, you think they'd have a cure for it by then, too.
Right. Yeah. And what happened to Dr. William in curing all diseases or something, right? But whatever the case, people that were too unpredictable were removed. But not killed. It's humane. Okay, so we start finding out Caleb's real backstory now. Enough with the fake flashbacks. We find out that he was reconditioned at some point in his life when he was a younger man. We don't know what happened before that, what made him unpredictable. But we know he was reconditioned and he was a success story.
Right.
And once he was reconditioned, his job was to hunt outliers.
And kill them, right?
No.
Bring them in.
He was bringing them in. Yeah. And Solomon reveals that crime app that we've been referring to this whole show, the app that lets you do crimes, that was part of Solomon or Rehoboam's plan. They made the app.
Right.
To encourage people to do crime, except the crime they were doing, much of it was related to rounding people up.
Yeah.
And then some of it must have just, like robbing that ATM was just like decoy crime to make you feel better. Something, I guess. And he had a partner, and his partner was Francis. You
know, what's interesting is that when we were watching the beginning of the show with Caleb, he was saying that he won't accept personals anymore.
Right. He doesn't do personals anymore.
Yeah. I wonder what that meant.
Well, I imagine he was doing a lot of personals when...
And why, I mean, I wonder why in his brain, if he's been reconditioned, why he stopped.
That's a good question. That might be a psychological scarring so deep that it couldn't be erased out of him. That's my best guess. Yes, there is some kind of weed whacking going on outside our house right now. Okay, so Francis was his partner. They were both success stories. They had both, and then, well, I guess they said something about both of them having been discharged. I thought that was from having to hunt people down, but I guess it was just from reconditioning. So then they were doing the crime app. Right. Oh, maybe they both thought they got discharged from rounding people up, but then they fell back into the life of crime with the crime app. So they weren't really discharged. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But they wind up rounding up Whitman. So we see that. So now all of a sudden it's in a city instead of in the middle of nowhere, Russia, right. Civil Warville. Right? But it's the same guy, same outfit. Very nice touches on that, I thought. So all of this stuff was changed to Russia stuff. And instead of what we saw in the flashback of them like leaving Whitman tied up, and then eventually they pulled him out for extraction, and that's when a fight happened. In truth, Caleb gave this guy water and let him start talking. And that was where things took a turn. So Caleb and I guess Francis think that this is just a simple kidnapping and ransom.
I think Francis, this is his plot all along.
You think he knew what was really going on?
Yep.
Maybe. But Caleb certainly didn't. Caleb definitely thought it was a K&R. So whoever they were working for was going to get a huge ransom for Whitman. And then some of that money would trickle down to the boys that actually did the kidnapping. And Whitman knows what's up because he's a big executive. He works for a drug company that makes those limbic things that they're always putting on their tongue that kind of like, it improves your reflexes, but it disassociates your memory or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
He knows what's going on.
Yes. And he knows that this is all about Rehoboam coming for him because he knows too much. He knows about Sonora. He knows about all their plans. So we flash back to the present, and Caleb wants to know why this all had to be this way. And then they get a notification that someone has arrived at the facility. Dolores assumes it's Maeve, and it is, with a helicopter and a katana.
Right.
It's a good combo. So Dolores is going to go work on that, but they ask about Jean-Michel's final strategy, and I had to write it down because Solomon's like, well, his final strategy wouldn't work anymore because it is decohered. Remember, that was the last episode.
Right.
Shit falls apart. The major players in Jean-Michel's plan are no longer an option or alive or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So she says to fix it, she's going to go buy some time. And Dolores tells Caleb to be a leader. She gives this little speech, but it's all about whatever happens here, get out of here and lead.
Right.
Lead the people.
Right. He's like, me?
Yeah. I'm not a leader, man. I'm a mess. And he is.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So Maeve invites Dolores to come outside to fight. They have a little talk. And then Dolores gets stabbed in the back by a cute little robot that she has to rip its head off now because Maeve's controlling things.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that little guy.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's the second time, though, Maeve has used that type of robot.
At least. Maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah. 3 times.
Yeah. She's good at it. And the big fight begins. Maeve comes inside the facility anyway, but whatever. And Dolores wants to know why Maeve is fighting for them. They're both trying to kind of go after the same stuff, but Maeve's like, don't equate us, you bitch. I just want to protect my daughter.
Right. She wants to protect everything that she had.
Now, I do feel like Maeve is flawed here. For as smart as she is. Like, Dolores has the keys to the kingdom. She has the encryption key, and she knows where the data was sent. So if Maeve would just work with Dolores, she could get to her daughter. Right?
I don't know.
Unless she just thinks Dolores is...
The encryption key that Dolores has is all about the data that nobody knows yet. Everybody's DNA that has been in the park, right?
Well, but isn't it also a copy of the Forge? Like, isn't that where the Forge is? Or is the Forge completely separate? Shit, I don't know. I thought the Forge was encrypted and sent away, which would include the library with all the books.
I don't know. Who knows?
Well, now you've confused me again. But Maeve does not think Dolores' plan is good enough to beat Serac, I guess. And that's why Dolores has to die. Because she's hoping Serac will keep his word, I suppose.
It seems like Dolores or Maeve would need Dolores's, but maybe Serac already has the marble. I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay, so back over to Caleb. What happened to Francis? Well, Francis was out checking things out, looking at his crime app, and Whitman says there's going to be a double cross here for sure. Rehoboam's listening to us. You guys know too much. One of you is going to be bribed to kill the other one. And, of course, that did happen. Francis was going to betray Caleb, but Caleb got the first shot in because Francis is kind of a dumbass, and Francis dies. And
Francis dies.
Whitman's like, you're going to be a rich man. And Caleb's like, fuck you, bro, and shoots him dead. So, I guess Rehoboam got everything he wanted.
Yep.
And Solomon goes on to explain, I had to write this whole quote down because it's unpleasant, but probably true, or almost true. Solomon says, every human relationship can be adjusted for the right amount of money.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why Francis did what he did, because they were best buds. They were crime buds and best buds.
Right. He needed the money.
And then Dolores' revolution is ready, and it's on a flash drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Outside, Maeve is hunting for Dolores, and Dolores gets the drop on Maeve with her drone and her sniper rifle, and then the helicopter's buzzing around, and basically those tools were used to box these guys in under a shed.
Right.
Where they get to have their big fight.
At least they have some shade there.
They had some shade, which was nice when it's a hot sun down there in Mexico or Utah, wherever.
Arizona.
Arizona? Okay.
Sonora.
That's in Mexico.
That is in Mexico. I don't know.
Wherever they were filming this time. It was a good fight. I liked it. There was a lot of stabbings. Dolores had a little knife and was stabbing Maeve a bunch of times. The katana never really got to do a whole lot, but it was a good fight choreography.
Yes.
We learned in the behind the scenes that Dolores, what's her name? Evan Rachel Wood.
Right.
She is a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yes.
And she was excited she would get to use some of her fighting instincts to do this choreography. I like it.
Me too.
Way to go. That makes me like her a lot more. Martial artists are cool.
Yeah.
All right. So then the big thing happens. You definitely gasped. I thought Dolores was just going to flat out die, but it wasn't quite that amazing. But that the helicopter got Dolores
shot her arm off.
in the arm. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Dolores left the shed and pulled out her knife, and then the arm went kablooey.
At least she got the knife out.
Yeah. Great effects.
Yeah.
So she runs after losing an arm. Maeve promises this will be Dolores' last death. I don't think so.
Can't be.
All right. So Caleb demands that Solomon tell him how to kill Serac. And it's all part of what's on the flash drive. So Caleb's ready to go.
Right.
Just read the flash drive, damn it.
Right. You can't tell him.
It's RTFM. Read the fucking manual. Like we say in the tech world. All right. So then we get to Dolores and Maeve's final showdown. Dolores is about to be run through. And of course, the best part is that as this is going down with Chekhov's gun, Solomon says to Caleb, I must warn you, ... There's one, the plan can only fail if you do this one thing. And Dolores hits the EMP.
Right.
Maeve goes down. Dolores goes down.
Caleb's like, what?
Caleb's in the dark in cold storage. I mean, that could, if power's gone completely out, that could turn into a zombie wasteland soon. Any second now. If everyone defrosts, though, that could
Stink
be.
A.
Except they'll be stuck in those chambers. They're all going to die.
Would they wake up?
They might.
I don't know.
It's going to be unpleasant, for sure. So the EMP happened. Cool. And then after that, there was just one final scene, which was William and Bernard Ashley at a gas station. They're going to hijack a car or something. And William finds a gun in there, of course. But Bernard is revealing to... They're talking about Caleb again. What's up? Well, why Caleb? What's so important about Caleb? Why does Dolores like this guy so much? And Bernard reveals...
Well, he said he's her plan.
Right. That's her plan.
Okay.
Caleb, whatever's in Caleb's file, and we still don't know what it is, it's got to be something really bad. Because Dolores is counting on she's not going to destroy humanity. She's just going to unleash Caleb on the world. And somehow he's going to be the one to destroy humanity. Like, what could that be? Like, the only thing that comes to mind is like X-Men 2, which was really like the Dark Phoenix saga from the comics, but poorly done. But like, if you unleash Jean Grey, she will destroy all of humanity because she's completely unstable and way too powerful. But there's no superpowers in this show.
Who knows?
Though there could be like
whatever who knows? Who knows? He could have some kind of, he could know something from his past that would do something to Rehoboam.
I got a question for you. What if Caleb's mom doesn't really have Alzheimer's? What if she's not really that crazy, or the crazy that she is was just because she was broken? Because maybe Caleb isn't even Caleb. Maybe he grew up with a completely different name. Maybe he's like fucking like Adolf Hitler III, and he's going to try to kill everybody in the world. And he always wanted to from a young age. Like he used to wake up and be like, "Good morning, mommy. I had a dream last night that I killed everybody and it was so fun." and so now he's not even that guy anymore. And mom is just broken because of it.
I think that Caleb was a robot of some sort. I think that maybe he was the first, like, version of Rehoboam's robots or something. But
Rehoboam would know that.
Okay.
How did Dolores know so much about Caleb?
How did she know to look for him? If she read his book, how did she know to look for him? And
was her plan to get shot in the stomach and make her way back to him so she would... Well, she did look like she needed help, even though she probably didn't, because being shot in the stomach isn't a big deal for her.
True. I was wondering about that. Because remember, we even talked about that. We're like, wow, now she's fine. What happened?
This whole plan isn't even to bring down Rehoboam. So there was really no reason for her to get close to, like, what was his name? Liam. Except to make it look like her plan was to take down Rehoboam just so she could unleash Caleb. But how does she know about Caleb? Maybe he would have had to go to Westworld once.
Maybe Caleb's Teddy.
Caleb can't be a robot. There's too much going on with his humanity.
Something is special about Caleb.
Okay, let's say Caleb comes from a wealthy family. No, wait, he doesn't. Wait, no, that's William's backstory. We don't know anything about Caleb as a child. We still don't know anything about him except the fake military stuff, right? So, Caleb's from a wealthy family that used to vacation in Westworld. And it was the Westworld shit.
Oh, there was a kid there, remember? There were kids there.
Well, yeah. I mean,
in the beginning, maybe that little kid that we saw is
which
Caleb.
One? You're not talking about little Ford?
No.
Okay.
Vacationing kids. Although I think that was an African-American family that had the kids there.
There was, yeah. There was one.
Darn. Well, I'm sure there's plenty. Maybe he was there as a kid.
If you're rich enough, it's a family vacation spot. Because the kids can go off questing all day. And even if they do hire a hooker, it's not a human. So it's okay. It's not statutory rape.
True.
So let's say Caleb's from a wealthy family. Vacation in Westworld. And his file was logged. Like everybody else's. And they know from his book, Dolores found his book. And he is a high quality psychopath that only wants the destruction of humanity. But since that was identified at a younger age, it was conditioned out of him. Because there's no way, right? She didn't have access to Rehoboam. So in order to know anything about Caleb before meeting Caleb, it would have had to be from the Delos logs, wouldn't it?
I would think so.
She read his book.
She read his book. She must have.
But that means he's struggling to pay the bills for his mom's hospital stay. So that might not be his mom. That could just be some random chick that they hooked him up with.
I don't know.
What if he's like William's son?
It's not like we see him sitting down writing checks to people.
Who? Rehoboam?
Caleb.
No, but he's doing crime app because he needs the money.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't know.
What if he's William's son? Could William have a son? A secret son?
Maybe, but I don't know. What would be the point of that?
That would add some fun family drama for the end.
Okay.
Although William didn't know he had a son, so then that wouldn't make sense why.
No, he doesn't have a son.
Illegitimate son was in Westworld. Okay. So something else then. Could be the son of a Westworld worker?
No.
Could be.
We'll figure it out.
William could have had an affair with a Westworld worker.
Maybe we'll know next episode.
What if William just fucked so many robots and one day they were like, let's clone William. Let's make a new William. Let's put his sperm that we collected in our robot into some chick that we like, that we think would make a good match. You know, genetic engineering type shit.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, but there has to be some, and they better fucking explain it. There has to be some way
for her to know.
Related to Delos.
This can't be a hole. Right. Better get some explanation, damn it.
That's right.
All right.
There's only one episode to do it, so I hope it's an extra long episode.
Me too. Although
my hand for taking notes does not hope it's an extra long episode. Because that gets rough after a while.
It's good practice.
I will do what I gotta do. So we'll be back with that final episode next week. I'm glad it wasn't delayed like Walking Dead was. I would love to know what happens in that season finale.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a long time. We'll have forgotten everything that was going on by the time the season finale
I hope
airs.
not.
Yeah. So next week, that's it. And then we'll talk about what we're going to do next.
Cool.
And if you would like to talk about what we should do next, reach out to us. You can reach me at jeff@podofthrones.com or at podofthrones on Twitter.
You can reach me at jennifer@podofthrones.com or kidfreeweekend on Twitter.
That's right. So let us know anything. You know, do you want to play Fallout 76? That'd be kind of fun. But apart from Fallout on the Xbox, what do you think of these theories? Is Serac real? Is William human or not? Where did Caleb come from? Tell us what you think of any of those things. And then also, we talked about maybe The Witcher, but there's also his Dark Materials. There's Watchmen. There's other things that we could be watching and discussing.
A lot of things, right?
There's a lot of good shows out there. So let us know what you think we should talk about when Westworld is over.
Yes. All right.
So until next time, I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
Let's skedaddle, little doggy. I missed the Western thing.
How about we watched Westworld?
And we watched Westworld. That's what we did.